So in this video, if you don't know, my name is Jonathan, and I don't really have any agenda for this video because I wanted to provide just a little rant. You know, my rants can go for half an hour, but just a little one this time, because we're in a problem here where everyone is expecting one thing, but something else may occur. In the past, when the Bitcoin market was basically breaking out of its 4-year low, so what you have here is a sine wave, which basically has the 4-year cycle with roughly the lows occurring because it's low to low roughly, okay? And you have this breakout here. There's still, which is occurring right here, there still weren't many bulls in the market. But what we have here is we have an issue where everyone was watching for that low and everyone was trying to buy in at that low. And fear has already diminished despite us only just really starting the second year after the bear market. And for me, that's a problem because that never happened in the past. If we go back to this low back here, go out a little bit. Basically, this prolonged bear market wasn't really bought into again by anyone really until it broke this top over here back at $1,000. This is basically when most people started getting feverish in crypto. And I know that because I was at the seminars where we spoke about it and we were watching for this break to occur. And basically when this break occurred, it was anticipated that the market would just go parabolic again. Okay. And you look at when the break occurred here, the market went parabolic. When the break occurred here, the market went parabolic. And then we had this market here where we had the market crash. It then started to rise up, but then it just basically stagnated through, this was the COVID period. And then it didn't break until very late into the cycle. And then we actually had roughly a prolonged cycle where we were looking top to top. But yeah, the market did go parabolic basically after this break here. The problem we have now is that the market hasn't broken the top up here, but the attitude of investors as if it already has. And what I mean by that is that they're anticipating that the market is going to go parabolic basically right now. There's a lot of people out there suggesting that we have $100,000 on the cards. And I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying that there's too many people looking the same way. And I try to have a tendency of looking the opposite way. And it's going to make me wrong one time, and I could probably be wrong right now. But let me just keep going because I do these videos not to help you make money. I don't do these videos to, give you sell signals, buy signals. Like I said, I do these videos to help protect you and to help give you an alternative opinion. And then my alternative opinion will be wrong every now and then. However, I think over a long enough period of time, I have sustained a good strike rate of accuracy. If the market does break this top up here, yes, the market is going to go higher. That's generally what we call like a blue ocean or blue sky ahead, and there's no overhead resistance, and the market can push higher. However, we're a very, very long way from that. In fact, sitting at 37,000, we're basically halfway to that right now. And given the time period, if we look at the time period, so from 13,000 to 20,000, we're basically at the same time period in the cycle as we were in the past, and also that same price difference, so roughly about half of that. The other important thing, and yes, this is going to be just a rant video, nothing interesting in here, is the 18.6-year cycle. The 18.6-year cycle will dictate where money flows. Now, right now, money is flowing in various different places. Now, for the average pleb, you and me, we are not seeing the sustained growth rate in our fortunes as are corporations right now. This cycle is being governed by corporations, and corporations are right now absorbing all the profits. There's another hotspot which is currently occurring, that is Dubai. places like Dubai and Saudi Arabia. These places are going through the roof, property prices, massive developments. Money is just flowing like crazy right now. So while we're not seeing it down here, the cycle is playing out as intended, and there are different people or different groups of people who are making a fortune right now. The problem we have, and problem you'll know, is that the cycle is anticipated to top around this period right here. Okay, so with the 2026 hotspot, and we're looking for a top in the market between 2025 to 2027. And I've given a very, very wide window right there. Basically, we're now entering the final 2 years of this market. Now, what happens when that occurs is that people start to speculate. They speculate incorrectly. And they end up generally buying the top. Can the market rally basically to $100,000 in 2 years? I'm not saying that it's not going to. I'm just saying that there's probably going to be other significant cycles that are going to play out, which are going to force this market higher or lower than what we're expecting. We have, for example, the 18.6-year cycle ending its first half of the period, basically between 2020 to 2022. Okay, so the low for this cycle's already occurred, the first half of the cycle. We then have the low for the second half of the cycle occurring between 2027 to 2029. This is going to be the most dramatic sell-off that we've ever witnessed. And I don't think that people who are investing into crypto are going to be in the right camp at the end of this cycle. And I've actually been talking to some people, and I've also heard that the big money in crypto, like the speculative investors in crypto, they're no longer looking to store their wealth in crypto because they're sick of the fluctuations in it. And they're actually moving to places like diamonds. So even the big boys, those who made fortunes in the last cycle, are now moving money out of crypto and into diamonds. Now, I'm not saying that there's not going to be some sort of hedge fund or money manager out there that's not trying to launch an ETF. But you have to think, if everyone knows about something, then it's not likely to occur in the same way. I can tell you that not everybody knew about this 4-year cycle in Bitcoin the last cycle. Not everybody knew about it. In fact, I can tell you for a fact not everybody knew about it, because I was calling a top in 2021 and a decline into 2022, and everyone was ridiculing me, saying that I was wrong, and yet I was just using that simple 4-year cycle. And that was only 2 years ago. But now everyone knows about the 4-year cycle, and if you talk now against the 4-year cycle, they will now ridicule against that 4-year cycle. And that is the shift in momentum that I've been waiting for. That is the exact behavior of what occurs at the end of the 18.6-year cycle. And that is going to tell me that these Bitcoin boys are going to get fucked orally. So that's just a little rant from me, because I'm now starting to grow cautious on the future of Bitcoin in the sense of its rallies, sustained rallies higher. And that's mainly because of two forms of analysis I've done. And I've found possibly two other cycles in Bitcoin that no one's talking about. They're smaller than the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle is definitely the most dominant cycle. However, these are starting to alter the actual direction of Bitcoin. And they're showing some strength into 2024. And that's why when I did the 2024 forecasting service, I actually showed you these cycles, how they played out in the past, and what next year is likely to look like. And I can tell you, if these cycles do provide some influence next year, 2024 is not going to be a bull market. Now, yes, we have this sustained rally here during COVID, where everyone says, well, the market declined in COVID, basically due to the fact that COVID came in and it pushed prices sideways. Actually, the market topped out in July 2019, for those who are very curious about that. And then it took basically until the end of 2020 for the markets to push higher. You got to wonder if Bitcoin was really the safe haven. Why did it not go parabolic during COVID? Because there's other cycles. That's why. And then you have basically the end of the cycle here, and the markets didn't really push higher until 2017. If we look at the top in 2013 and we go forward to 2017, that is about 4 years later that the market actually started to move higher. So we go 2021. Are we looking for another break? When? 2024, 2025? Okay, but that's starting to get very risky because the end of the 18-year cycle is expected around this time frame. You don't want to be buying the top, is what I'm trying to suggest. There's other markets to be looking at. There's other places to be looking at. Like I said, this is just a rant. There's no real agenda here. I'm just trying to put out that you should not be following the obvious now, and you need to be looking for alternatives. If this was an obvious single cycle that played out indefinitely, and basically we can make money forever, and this is a money printing machine, we simply just wait for that low to come in, we buy, we wait for that low to come in, we buy, we wait for that low to come in, we buy, we wait for that low to come in, we buy. If it was that simple, wouldn't, like, why are you watching YouTube? Why aren't you on a private jet? This is, I guess I'm, talking my ass, but it's not that simple. And there are things that are going to play out in a way that are going to make you wrong, and you're going to lose money. So the two new cycles that are likely to play out in 2024, they're not pushing the market higher. If they provide any influence next year, they're not pushing the market higher. The 4-year cycle still remains the dominant cycle, which means that we could get an upward bias, but these other two cycles are not pushing the market higher, and that's why I am now suggesting that perhaps I should be looking for an alternative bias or an alternative direction for the market, because now everyone is looking at the obvious, and I need to not look at the obvious anymore, because that's going to become too not obvious, if that makes sense. It's going to be not obvious to watch the obvious, or it's going to be too obvious to not watch the... Anyway, don't look at the 4-year cycle anymore. The 4-year cycle is not going to be the major cycle moving forward. There are going to be new and smarter cycles that are going to come in, and it's basically going to make that 4-year cycle redundant. Because when we run out of Bitcoins, when we run out of that halving cycle, which will eventually happen, I don't know, what is it, 2100 or 2050? I don't know. It's a very long time away. But when that runs out, we're going to have more data sets. We're going to have more data. We're going to have more cycles that we're going to be able to follow. And I can tell you that in 20, 30 years' time, this 4-year cycle will no longer be the dominant cycle, and there will be a different cycle that has been playing out, which could have been the one that forced in this high here, that has been playing out, which may be moving the market in a different direction. So with that said, I don't really have anything else. We can definitely look at all these other cycles. I'm not going to open up this panel here because it's going to unlock the cycles that I'm watching. However, we can basically suggest that this market is likely to possibly not push higher like everyone is expecting next year. Just going to look at another possible framework, which will be the Saturn cycle, and not enough history. Let's go for the Jupiter cycle. Bummer, we're still working in much shorter time frames. Basically what the software does is give us cycles. We've got the 4-year cycle in the background, but it'll give us cycles in astro-based phenomena, which is basically just counting in timeframes of an astro-based cycle. So in this instance, if we used a Mars cycle, I basically have a 686-day cycle, and it tells us that over that 686 days, the market's done what, and it tells us where. So if it starts, for example, at 0 degrees Aries and then runs all the way through to 0 degrees Aries, it gives us a 686-day cycle. It's got 7 cycles so far, and it's suggested that when Mars is traveling around the zodiac at specific times, so from 0 degrees Aries to 0 degrees Aries, it basically does certain things at certain periods of time. And if we look at this period down here, let me make it tighter. 5 up, 2 down, suggesting that possibly, if I can make that even tighter, 6 up, 2 down, suggesting that when basically the orbital period of Mars has traveled roughly 500 days into orbit, the market is likely to push up higher than it is to push lower. And you can reverse this too. You can look for another scenario. 5 up, 4 down. Let me make it tighter because I'm covering quite a lot of time. 6 up, 3 down. When Mars is traveling, because this is the period in right now we're at this arrow. So Mars is basically located at this arrow. As Mars travels through this period here, it's saying that there's been 6 out of 2 times that the market has 6 over 2, so total of 8 times. The market has moved up over this time period before moving down. So now we need to look at this time period here and how many days it is. So it goes from 353 days out to 400 days, so about 50-day time frame here. And then we look at this period here, 5 up, 4 down. Look at this period here, 5 up, 4 down, 5 down, 3 up. When Mars hits basically 450 days, so basically 100 days from now, there's been historical evidence that the market has traveled lower over higher. So there's different cycles playing out, and this is just an example here of timing with a planetary cycle, which is Mars. Basically, next year is going to be influenced by other cycles playing out, and there's a bias that the market is not going to rally high like everyone's expecting. That's all I have to say. I'm just saying, look for the alternatives. I've had people call that this market is going to be 67,000 by the end of this year. Let me take a look something quickly. Right, yeah, there's been people who've been calling basically for 50K by the end of the year. A lot of people have been calling 50K by the end of the year. We've got basically 30 days left to the end of the year. And the suggestion now is that Bitcoin is going to hit 50K by the end of the year. There's been a lot of so-called GAN experts saying 50,000 by the end of the year. That gives them a 30-day time frame for that to occur. If that does occur, congratulations to them. If it doesn't occur, then that just solidifies that there's possibly other cycles that are playing out, which are not forcing this bias higher. Anyway, that's all I got. Just keep an open mind into next year, and I'll talk about more of these other cycles I've found as we go through next year. If you want to know what those cycles are now, you can just go ahead and join our 2024 forecasting service. It's available in the link below. And that basically just goes through and shows you what the framework for next year is going to be on all markets. It's going to be the Aussie market, the Dow Jones, the crypto market, and also the precious metals market. I've detailed it all, and I've given you basically the time frames and cycles to be watching. Talk to you soon.